collectors, hobbyists, sports enthusiasts, investors. I think that should just about cover everyone. And welcome to auction closing night for our spring catalog auction. Tonight is session one. All the cards, the wax, the sets, the uncut sheets. And then tomorrow night is the memorabilia. And then Saturday night is our final session. But we've got almost 1,500 card lots closing tonight. And we're going to talk about our favorites, things that are moving up the bid board, things that probably should have a little more attention, and just some of our favorite items. Usually, I'm sitting right next to the most gregarious, most roly-poly, huggingest guy in the hobby, Mr. Tony Giese, but he is traveling. He's going to be joining us later. Don't you worry. He is going to be in Montreal at a card show all weekend. So if you're in Canada and you've always wanted to have a bear hug from Tony Giese, this is the weekend to make it happen. He just arrived at the hotel and he's going to be jumping on shortly, but very pleased to have hobby luminary and Heritage Executive Vice President Joe Orlando joining us. Joe, how are you doing this evening?
Awesome, Mike. There you go with that luminary thing.
I saw last time how
uncomfortable live up to that. So you're setting us up for failure tonight.
I saw how uncomfortable that made you last time I called you that. So you can bet that's going to continue.
Great. That's what I hear.
Tony doesn't even understand what that word means, so I can't use it on him. So it's bestowed upon you. But you've been in the industry for a long time, had some very interesting positions. You know just about everybody in the industry. Is there anyone in the industry you don't know at this point, Joe?
Interesting. I did hear that Norm and Cliff from Cheers are next door here at a preview for our entertainment division. And if they're sort of, I don't know them, if they're in the hobby somehow related.
How could they not be? And I did see them earlier at the Cheers bar, which is in our gallery, having beers. And I took a quick look to make sure that Tony wasn't actually over there doing the same and playing hooky on the show this evening, but I didn't find him. So looks like his Canada story may be holding up. But as you said, very exciting time at Heritage. We have a huge entertainment auction open, and our entire gallery looks like a museum to TV history. Did you get a chance to look at it?
I did. I walked through there, and of course, around the back of the gallery, there was Johnny Carson's desk and setup. I was a big Karnak fan. I don't think I could repeat some of those jokes on the air tonight. We're in a different era. But it was so cool to see some of that stuff. You talk about nostalgia, it brought back a lot of memories.
I'll tell you, I promise I asked our communications director, Robert Wolanski, if we could do the show from the Tonight Show desk, and he laughed and turned and walked away. So, of course, Heritage SOP of taking care of things takes precedence over what I'd like to do in that instance. But yeah, some amazing items. The entire set for All in the Family is over there. Batman and Robin original costumes, a lot of Star Trek stuff. So it's a fun place to work, is it not?
Oh yeah, we could be doing a lot of other things, a lot more boring than what we do here at Heritage. It's been a privilege, really.
Yeah, better than digging ditches, I'll say that.
That's right.
Which was my other career choice. So I feel like I chose correctly. But speaking of some history, we have almost 3,000 lots closing this weekend. Cards, sets, wax, every conceivable type of memorabilia, 3 sessions. Session 1 is closing tonight at 10 p.m. Central Time, which is just under 2 hours from now. Extended bidding will begin for session 1. So you need to have all your bids in for session 1 if you want to take part in extended bidding, and we know you do. Then tomorrow night will be the memorabilia, and then Saturday night is a mix of memorabilia and cards, our final session, and some great material in there as well. And we're going to talk about some of our favorites, and I feel like I've yammered on long enough. We have a luminary here, as I said at the beginning. So Joe, what's caught your eye in the auction?
I guess we could start with, where do we start? I'd start with, if you can, the 1962 Topps Series 1 box, wax box.
Yeah, great one to begin with. Never seen one before. Had you ever seen one, Joe?
No, certainly not like this, and not a complete box. And I'll tell you, leading up to the auction, what I was hoping for as a collector was that somehow every single human being and air-breathing mammal on Earth would just overlooked the fact that this was in our auction. So, but unfortunately, that did not happen for me. This piece is just, I mean, you talk about checking all the boxes. It really does. And, let's talk about unopened. So first of all, let's talk about scarcity. According to Steve Hart, which is the foremost expert in this field, he has not seen one for, I think it's over 10 years or around 10 years at this point. So it's extremely scarce to find a 62 wax box of any series, let alone the first series. So let's get into that. So not only is this from a popular set, and that really does affect value. If your unopened material, whether it's a pack, a box, a case, if it relates to a set that is extremely popular, of course, that helps. The 1962 Topps set is very popular, very unique design with the wood grain borders from the 1960s. But this is not just any box from that set. It's a Series 1 box. Series 1 1962 Topps might be one of the most star-studded, packed series of any series I can think of for the decade. You have Koufax, you have Clemente, you have a #1 card of Roger Maris coming off of his second of back-to-back MVPs when, of course, he hit the 61 home runs. You have the only card ever made featuring Mays and Mantle on the same card, a manager's dream card. You have Banks, you have Musial. It's an incredible series of cards. So, I mean, that takes it to another level. It's not just a box, an unopened box from a popular set. It's the best series in that, from that particular set. And then you look at the graphics, those green and red colors just really pop. They're so fresh off the box. Of course, the viewers can't see what the packs look like inside, but we had the privilege of seeing that before the box was sealed and authenticated. The green packs inside are pristine. They are absolutely gorgeous. This box checks every possible box that you could come up with. And I just think, obviously it's off to a tremendous start already, but I think there's going to be some pretty stiff competition as we go into the extended bidding period.
When you talk about something that rare that even our experts here had never seen one, putting an estimate on it essentially is just a guess, a best guess. And we have some very educated people, but we had an estimate of 100,000, which is a huge number for any box. And it's at 160,000 now as we get a little closer to extended bidding. So that's one that's really fun to watch when it closes because nobody knows where it's going to end up. We see a little bit of everything. So there's items that we can pretty accurately peg where they're going to finish. There's always surprises. But with something like that, God only knows where it could end up at the end of the night.
Yeah, it's the sort of true representation or definition of a unicorn collectible. And I think, look, the vintage unopened market is arguably as hot as any segment in the sports collectibles field. And another thing that's happening, because we do have quite a few other terrific unopened boxes in the sale, I think what's happening on these unicorn pieces like the 62 Topps boxes, they're starting to go deep into, over six figures or into six-figure range. And what's happening, it's kind of like the rising tides, raise all ships sort of theory. But then you look at sort of the next layer down, then you get into kind of the early to mid 70s, 72, 75, 76 boxes. And they seem to be taking a step forward as well, because, look, the average collectors are getting priced out of some of these unicorn vintage boxes. And then it's sort of like going down to that next level of boxes that are a little bit more available, still tough, but a little bit more available for the collector. And so that whole market is really intriguing. And like they say, it's kind of the opposite of cards and card grading. With unopened material, the populations go down, where in grading, of course, as more material gets graded, the populations go up. So as people, again, it's sort of ill-advised. Any veteran unopened collector will tell you it's ill-advised, but some people still open vintage packs and boxes. And so again, over time, the available product actually goes in the other direction. It goes down. So it actually increases in scarcity in that respect.
There was a great conversation on our social today about that box by a bunch of breakers about how incredible it would be to do a break with that.
Yeah.
And part of the conversation was that's such a condition sensitive issue. So to be able to pull them right out of the pack would be an incredible experience. But at that level, I just could not imagine doing it. There are some people on the planet who could afford to do such a thing, but I would imagine this is probably going to sit sealed for a while.
Yes, I would tend to agree with you, but you never know.
Yeah, I'd love to see it. I would love to see it. If the winning bidder would like to come on here and break it open, we'd be happy to host.
That would be fun to watch.
All right. What else you got, Joe? What else has caught your eye?
Yeah, another lot that's closing tonight is the PSA 4 1952 Topps Mickey Mantle. And I'd like to kind of, we have, by the way, we have a few mantles, 52 mantles in this sale. I think we have everything from a -3 to a 13. It seems like we have one in every grade practically. But I think, look, and when it comes to a 1952 Topps mantle, we know how iconic it is, historically important and popular and so forth. So it's really a matter, for the collector, it's not a matter of finding it. You can find them when you want to. It's a matter of finding the right price point and the card that satisfies you from an eye appeal perspective. And in many cases, it's about finding value inside the grade. And what I would suggest to bidders out there who maybe haven't looked at this or noticed it up until this point, all you have to do is take this lot, take the image of this card, and measure it up against the other 52 Topps mantles we have in the sale. This card, from an eye appeal perspective, it almost glows in the dark. I mean, the colors are so vibrant, it pops so much, and it's quote unquote only a 4. So it's not, you're sort of getting value within the grade because of that tremendous color and pop that it really has. And again, we have everything, I think, from a 7.5 down to, I think, a 1 in the sale, and everything in between. And they again, the mantles, they're all great cards, but you can see even within the same auction how much this stands out from the rest of the cards. Again, even in grades that are higher. So from a technical perspective, the card is graded correctly. But from an eye appeal perspective, it really offers that next level of pop for someone who, look, maybe they can't afford a 7 or an 8, but they're looking for something that really satisfies them. I would encourage people to take a hard look at this card. And again, all you have to do, don't take my word for it. Actually take the images, take the lots and the links, and just put them right next to each other, and you'll see just how much this image pops on the card.
And since August, when we sold the SGC 9.5 mantle, I've seen here more raw 52 Topps mantles than I've seen in my entire life. And this was one of them. This one is fresh to the hobby, which is always a great aspect. What does that add to for collectors?
Well, I think there's something about having a crack at something that isn't a retread. It hasn't been seen in auction year after year. And look, because it's the collectibles market, and a lot of collectors, look, I'm a collector, you're a collector. What do? We trade. We trade collectibles. We find something else that we want to focus on, so we have to get rid of something we already own. And what happens is you see sometimes the same cards, the same bats, the same autographs come up for sale sort of repeatedly over a 5, 10, or 20-year period. What's nice about, being able to take home something that hasn't been around. I just think collectors enjoy that concept. That, look, it's a first time opportunity. This was a true childhood collection. The gentleman was based in Canada. He had this as well as some other star cards and some commons from 52s, from 52 Bowmans, even 51 Topps ringside boxing. This was the star of the group. And so it was kept out of sight, and you could see it just retained, as you mentioned, that freshness. So it's not just fresh to the hobby. It has a fresh look to it. And so I think collectors like that idea of having the chance to take something home that hasn't been seen repeatedly, and trying to, bury it hopefully for a long time in our collections.
And there's so many auction archives out there, ours included, that are so deep now and thorough that when a card comes up, people can go back and look and say, oh, this sold here for this X amount. this year, and cards can have a history in the hobby. And there's something, like you said, about this, that first time it's going to sell, it's out of a childhood collection. And I think there is something to, we hear all the time from baby boomers, oh, I had a 52 Topps mantle and my mom threw it out when I went away to college or when I got my first job. And I think there is an attraction to, I lost mine, and this is somebody that's coming right from their collection, like it could have been mine, and now I'm going to own it.
Right. It's like you're the next temporary custodian of that item. And there is something about that. It's hard to quantify and sometimes articulate, but anytime something is coming from a long time collection, in some cases, it's not even, as we'll get to when we talk about some of the tickets, it's not even really a collection per se, but just it was buried inside of someone's holdings. It wasn't really a collector. There's just something about having that first crack. And then again, it's sort of the passing of the torch. Now it's time for you to own it for hopefully, again, a long period of time.
Indeed. What else do you like in the sale that's going to be passing the torch to a new collector this evening?
I guess we could dive into some of the tickets if that's okay. So definitely. I guess we could start with the Game 1 1919 World Series ticket.
Yeah,
and this
example.
Yeah, it really is. So this is an example of what I was just mentioning, where the consigner, the person, the consigner, was a family member, and his grandfather wasn't a collector at all. He went to the games, and there's 3 different tickets: Games 1, Game 2, and Game 5 from the 1919 World Series. All of them, and there were actually a couple of other tickets as well that came from this consigner's family. The color of these tickets, especially Games 1 and 2, because they were a completely different style than the Game 5 ticket, because they were at different venues. But the freshness of it, yes, it is technically only graded a 2, and I think the Game 2 is graded a 3, but they present far nicer than that, far better than that. So again, it's about finding eye appeal inside the grade sometimes. I think this is a great example of that. When you take, again, Heritage does a great job with the high resolution images. You can blow it up on your screen and really get to appreciate, how it would look in person. And it's just a terrific example.
Like we talked about the other day with tickets, some great aesthetics for those 100-year-old tickets, when it was really an art form, making the tickets and the design that went into it. And this falls into that. Yeah,
no question. And again, as far as the historical importance of this ticket, I mean, different games from this series have different values. Of course, Game 8, the finishing, the clincher, is probably the most valuable ticket of all of them. And then Game 1 is right behind that. There's something about the bookends of the series. Like, this is the beginning of the end, right? It's the Black Sox series. Sometimes history fills us with joy, and sometimes it's tragic. And in this case, it's tragic, but it's such an important moment in the history of the game. Then you start, getting into the whole Joe Jackson conversation and what could have been for one of the most talented players that ever came into Major League Baseball. And so it just represents so many different things. There's stories within the story, but there's no doubt Game 1 is the beginning of the end. And so collectors place special importance on this ticket.
Yeah, and the talking about the grades, I mean, the population is so small for these that grades can almost go out the window on it, because just nobody has an opportunity to get one. And that's what's so cool about these. When they come out of the woodwork from a private collection, they've never been out before. Ticket collectors, which that market has grown so much in the past few years, I think there's going to be a lot of action on these tomorrow night.
Yeah, I would expect so. And again, the combination. I mean, look, tickets, when you get into this era of tickets are going to have some condition flaws. But the question is, do those condition flaws take away from the aesthetics, the eye appeal? And here, yes, it has little surface, imperfections, that sort of thing. But when you look at it at arm's length, it really pops and seems to exceed the technical grade from that vantage point.
And that yellow hue of it really glows. It's kind of small on my screen, but I can still kind of feel it, the vibrations.
Yeah, no, it really is a terrific design. And again, if you were creating a list of the most important tickets, like the top 100 tickets of all time, I mean, this would certainly, any ticket from this series, I think, would have to be on that list because of what it meant to the game and what it meant for Joe Jackson's career.
Yeah, there's a conversation about what's the most important tickets. That's kind of happened with our catalogers as we've been writing so many more tickets in the last few years. So many things have really come out, and people that have had tickets when the values really increased, they're ready to sell. So what do you think as far as the most number one on your list of the most important ticket? Yeah, that's right. I'm going to surprise you. So
Here we go.
A lot of times you hear the first World Series, that's the number one, that's the most important ticket. But just to you, in your personal opinion of a luminary, what would you say?
Of a luminary, great. You know what? I'm not going to avoid the question. I'm going to answer the question. I do think it changes over time based on periods that we're in and what our society is focused on and appreciating at the time. I would argue that right now that Jackie Robinson's debut ticket might be the most important ticket in baseball, and how that completely changed the game, and what he meant, not just to sports, not just to baseball, but just our entire society. I think there's been such an increased appreciation for Jackie Robinson over the past several years. I could make the argument that might be the most important ticket right now. Now, it changes over time. Certainly in the conversation as any first, and we're going to get to another first here, I'm sure, in a minute in another sport. But anytime there's a first, I think it's important. But that debut ticket for Jackie Robinson, I just think, again, in context of what's happened in our field, what's happened in society, I would argue that could be the most important ticket.
Good answer for two reasons. Yeah, a huge moment in baseball, but also how it changed the entire country, and you could say the entire world, really, with the effect it had on our country. And from the industry perspective, a Jackie Robinson ticket holds the record for most valuable ticket right now that we set last year. So good stuff right there. He pulled it out of the bag at the last.
Putting me on the spot, Mike.
Yeah, and I'm going to try to do that a little more often. No more softballs, Joe.
No more soft. Great. Here we go.
So yeah, you mentioned another important debut ticket we have this weekend.
Yeah, there's a couple. So we can, if you want to go with a debut ticket, if you want to talk about the Jordan.
Yeah, absolutely.
So we have an not just a debut ticket, but an autographed debut ticket.
Unreal.
And you and I had a chance to talk about this previously, by the way, I mean, we should mention this. There are so many great tickets in this auction. I mean, it's all different sports, different eras. I mean, it is really a tremendous opportunity for anyone who's interested in expanding their collections into tickets. Lots of really interesting tickets. But this one, we have several Jordan tickets, but this is really the most significant one that we have. And as you and I talked about before, collectors, even though tickets are they're sort of in their infancy compared to things like trading cards in our field, there's no doubt that debut tickets are now the rookie cards of the ticket world. And the fact that this is not only a debut ticket, it is an autographed debut ticket. And last time I checked, it's not exactly easy to get Michael Jordan to sign things. He has had a deal, with Upper Deck Authenticated over the years. But this is the fact that you're bringing both of those things together, an autograph and his debut ticket into one piece. It's really special. And again, as we've talked about previously, somebody had to have the foresight. Now, granted, Michael Jordan was a terrific college player, and I think he was drafted, third, overall.
Yeah, not even the number one pick. So,
but yeah, not even the number one pick. But someone still had to say, okay, I'm going to keep this ticket from Michael Jordan's debut, and it had to exist. And who knows, when it was autographed exactly, but it had to be autographed, and now it's available for the rest of us to add to our collection. So it's just just a cool piece from so many different perspectives. But yeah, if you're going to if you were to make a list of, just Jordan tickets, if you were going to say, okay, what are the top 5 or top 10 Jordan tickets, I think you'd have a hard time beating this one. I mean, an autographed debut ticket is about as special as you can get.
Agreed. And, about keeping it, a lot of people, when they come home from a game or a concert, they keep the ticket. But for how long? You
Right.
throw it in your drawer, and then a week later, you're like, what is this doing here? And I think he had a good game for a rookie. He had 16 points, but it's not like he had 40 points and everyone said, wow, that's the greatest rookie debut ever. It's something that over time became such an important thing. So while there always could be more tickets that come out, it's in the infancy of that part of the genre, that Jordan debut is still going to be a very hard one. And like you said, getting it signed, forget about it.
Right. Right. Yeah.
It's not going to happen.
Yeah. This is one you just sock away, sock away for the long term. And as you mentioned before, I mean, yeah, he wasn't the number one pick. He was a very good collegiate player, but he didn't come into the league with, I don't think, nearly the same expectations that LeBron James did. So, a guy like LeBron, especially today, because people are they're more aware of things like this, saving tickets, that sort of thing. So a guy like LeBron comes into the league, everyone expected him to be what he became, which was one of the greatest ever. Jordan, there were some skeptics, about Jordan. Is he big? Is he big and strong enough, and that sort of thing. But his competitive fire, I mean, it always felt like he was proving everyone wrong at every level, high school, college, NBA, and he did it. And
I think he took it personally a lot.
Yeah. I mean, that, having that chip, I mean, a lot of the greats kind of had that. I mean, look, you could say the same thing in some ways about Tom Brady. You kind of always had that chip, like, you took me so low in the draft, I'm going to prove you wrong for over 20 years. And I think that's what makes some of these legends so great, is that they never lose that desire to prove everyone wrong. And it's such a terrific collectible, even if you're not a ticket collector. By the way, that's another great thing about tickets. You don't have to be a ticket collector per se. They're just such great complementary pieces to an existing collection, whether you collect cards or autographs or game used. They're such a great, piece to add to that, to complement an existing collection. So even if it's a one-off for a Jordan fan, it's just a great piece to own.
And as you said, there's a huge selection of tickets in this auction. In fact, there's the debut ticket from the number 2 pick in the draft that year, Hakeem Olajuwon. Signed example from him in this, and it caught my eye because he played here in Dallas, his first game, and it's a Mavericks ticket, which that's another cool thing about the Chicago one. It's a Chicago ticket. You never know with the debuts. Like Giannis's ticket is a Knicks ticket because they were on the road. So it's always nice and adds a little extra, I think, when they debut at home and you get that home debut ticket for them.
Yeah, and again, you're kind of leading me this way, and it's a point that I guess we both should make is, another great aspect of ticket collecting is there's a nostalgia there that's different from cards. It's a different kind of nostalgia. I opened packs of cards with my friends as a kid, just like a lot of other kids that grew up in the 1970s and 80s, that are of my generation. But tickets, it's a different type of thing. I mean, this is nostalgia. Like, if whether you saw it on TV, whether you went to the event itself, it's part of the history of the game. It's not a commemorative collectible that was made. It's part of the actual game's history. So it just brings back a lot of memories for a lot of people. And like you said, I mean, for a Chicago Bulls fan of that era, I'm sure it means so much. It means a little more to someone like, a collector like that or a fan like that than maybe just an average collector.
And especially with Jordan, you think about as his career progressed, how expensive tickets to go watch him play became. That, I remember here in Dallas when the Bulls came, everybody in the early 90s wanted to get a ticket, and it was almost impossible. And I certainly couldn't afford them when the Bulls came to town, even though the Mavericks were the worst team in the league at the time. But, there's that aspect to it of thinking about just getting a ticket to an event to go to, how exciting that was. And it still is. And that little extra notch of nostalgia that they can add.
That's right. Yeah. Once he became Air Jordan, he was the biggest draw in the league. I mean, for the remainder of his career. So you're right. I mean, he comes to town, the Bulls come to town, the tickets are a little bit different. They're priced a little differently than when another team, an average team, comes to town. I mean, it was a special time. It's funny. You're triggering memories for me. I used to drive down with my friends to the old sports arena where the Clippers would play and just get, the cheapest seats we could just to go see some of the stars like Dominique Wilkins and Jordan, at that time. And it was it was a lot of fun. That brings back a lot of good memories. And again, that's what we're talking about here is nostalgia and just remembering those times. And Jordan certainly played during an era, I've said this to you before, one-on-one, is that I know, look, every generation has their preferences, but that was a heck of a time to be an NBA fan. It was a lot of fun, that era.
Absolutely. And this was right in the heart of it, that mid-'80s ticket right there. And speaking of games where there was tickets still available, what's the last ticket you've got on your list?
I think we have the Super Bowl I ticket.
Yeah, great choice.
So, yeah, I mean, there's something about firsts. I mean, we talked about debuts of great players like Jordan, Jackie Robinson. There's also debuts of events, the first time an event took place. And when you think back, if you could imagine, either being at the game or being one of the players in the game, who knew that the Super Bowl would become what it is today, which is really a holiday. It's so far, it's gone so far beyond sports and football. It's a holiday. I mean, it transcends sports, and to have the beginning of this annual event that now everyone seems to celebrate, year to year is a really special piece.
Yeah. How come the day after the Super Bowl isn't a national holiday is a question I often ask on that Monday morning. But what's so interesting about this is that, it didn't sell out. Nobody thought it was going to be a thing. They thought the NFL would crush the AFC, which they did, or the AFL, which they did. Even Vince Lombardi afterwards was kind of like, meh. So you'd think there would be a lot of tickets to this game available to collectors, but there actually isn't. It's a hard one to get.
That's right. And especially in full form. And so like you said, the Packers sort of steamrolled the Chiefs at the time. So it wasn't a memorable game from a competitive perspective, but certainly from an event perspective. And you could also say, look, that was the Packers kind of in the middle of their dominance, and it just it symbolizes so many things. And you talked about the graphics of tickets, the art of tickets. Super Bowl tickets are fantastic, even the more modern ones. When you start getting in the 80s, 90s, 2000s, I mean, they are such cool looking collectibles, and they really, you can tell year to year, put some real effort into the graphics and into the design. And so you don't always get that with sports tickets. Sometimes they're more bland looking, so to speak. But Super Bowl tickets, I would say, from a consistency perspective, throughout the history of the event, perhaps the most eye appealing ticket year to year, from a consistency standpoint. I mean, they're just outstanding looking.
Yeah, and I think part of that is you said to a sports fan, you could have a ticket to any event this year. What do you want? I think most people are going to say the Super Bowl, whether their team was going to be in there or not. It's just become such an event. And I think, after a few years, after Super Bowl III, probably it became an event, and the people making the tickets really put some thought into it. And there's some great designs. And, it's something where you can pick out, if you're a Steelers fan or a Raiders fan or a 49ers fan or a Cowboys fan, you want to have a ticket from your team's Super Bowl victory in your collection.
That's right. Yeah. I mean, that's, again, you talk about there's your overall collection, and there's little, sub collections that you have. And it's like, yeah, if you have a team, if you follow a team that has a great history, a great legacy, how could you not want to have, the Super Bowl victories, even Super Bowl appearances? Some people, there's something for everyone. You can go as deep as you want to, but certainly from the winning, years, the championship years. I mean, those are special events. And of course, again, another thing that makes the Super Bowl so great, it's winner take all. It's not a series. There's no, oh, we'll get them in game 3. It's like if everything's on the line, that one game. And that's, I think, also part of the intrigue from a collecting standpoint. If you want to collect one from every year, you can. In certain years, there are all sorts of different color variations, and you can go really, deep within this theme. But Super Bowl tickets are, it's one of the, arguably the most popular single theme of all, ticket collecting themes.
And every year when the Super Bowl comes around, there's a storyline of how much do Super Bowl tickets cost this year. And the price, of course, like everything else, is always going up. But you will hear that story repeatedly in the weeks leading up to the Super Bowl. How much would it cost? So it's an interesting tie-in to the collectible aspect of it, that, of course, the older ones are more valuable. And these Super Bowl I tickets, because there is a limited number of them, do have great value and hold their value very well.
Yeah, again, you talk about foresight. You mentioned it from the outset. I mean, number one, it wasn't like at the time this was some major event and it was sold out. That wasn't the case. And you talk about right. I mean, so how many people thought to themselves, yeah, you know what, I'm going to keep this one. I'm going to keep this because, a lot of people thought it wasn't going to take off. It wasn't going to be as meaningful as it became. So, I mean, it's such a, again, I think this is true of really any, you could talk about vintage photos, tickets, cards, whatever it is, game used. There's something about first. There's something about debuts. And this is, the debut of the single biggest sporting event in our culture today. And it's hard to imagine that changing in our lifetime. So it's such a special piece.
Agreed. Some great choices. Joe, what else? You got anything else you picked out, or do you have to hit the phones and talk to clients now?
I think I probably should get back. I'm having too much fun here. I probably should get back. Yeah. I could literally go lot by lot and we could just talk about all the cool stuff in the auction, but it really is a great 3-day sale and such a wide variety of things for people to collect. And again, just within the ticket genre, there is so much to look at and collect. So, and at all price points too. You and I talked about that before. It's not all about $100,000 tickets. There are tickets in there that are hundreds of dollars, low thousands, all the way up to 6-figure type tickets. So a little something for everyone.
Indeed. Joe, always a pleasure to have you on board. Joe and I are doing a weekly show every Tuesday at noon Central Time. We're just going to pick a topic each week and talk about it. We'll take comments from people. Just going to really dig into Joe's vast knowledge and try to stump him a few times on these. But Joe, thank you for joining us tonight. And Chris Ivy's telling me that, you need to get back on the phones and stop hanging out in the conference room. So enjoy the rest of the sale, and I'll see you later tonight.
Definitely. Thanks for having me on. And I look forward to my embarrassment in the future when you stop.
Yeah. Me too. I'm going to get you one time.
You're going to get me more than once. See you later. Take care.
Always great to have Joe. We were so excited when he came on to the Heritage team last year. Anybody who's in the industry knows Joe and is a fan of his. I am as well. I've learned so much from him since he joined the Heritage team. And if you have anything you'd like to discuss with Joe as far as consignments or appraisal, he'd be happy to help you. joe@ha.com is his email address. And a lot to get to tonight. And I promise Tony Giese will be on here. That is not just a tease to keep you on the hook. He will be joining us as soon as he gets set up in Canada. And we've got a lot to talk about. So we've got about an hour and 20 minutes until extended bidding begins on session 1. That's the card. So you have to have your bids in before 10 p.m. Central Time on session 1 to take part in extended bidding. And among all the great items we have an incredible Pele collection that will be closing tomorrow night. A true incredible assemblage of items that were owned by Pele, signed by Pele. PSA was there to witness it. It is the Pele collection. Some of his rarest cards, some incredible memorabilia, all signed by the GOAT of the beautiful game. And we're going to take a short break and take a look at that collection.
The story of soccer legend Pele is a Hollywood-quality tale of a man born into poverty-stricken Brazil who would rise to become a global icon. As a child, his circumstances forced him to begin his training with a sock stuffed with newspapers as a ball, but his determination and skill would lead him to become one of the most celebrated and accomplished athletes in world history. At age 17, he would lead Brazil to their first World Cup title in 1958, still the youngest champion in the tournament's history. Over the next 2 decades, he would continue to make history and amaze fans the world over. He would win 6 league titles and 2 Copa Libertadores trophies in his home country, as well as 2 more World Cups. He later brought his talents to the United States, playing for the New York Cosmos, helping to elevate the sport's popularity in the U.S. We are proud to present the Pele Collection, a stunning assemblage of memorabilia owned by the soccer icon himself. It is an extraordinary representation of Pele's remarkable career, featuring some of his rarest soccer trading cards and other memorabilia. Deriving from Pele's personal collection, these are truly one-of-a-kind pieces. To ensure their authenticity, each piece was witnessed and slabbed by PSA and includes the prestigious Pele Collection pedigree. And every piece has accompanying video footage of Pele signing it to guarantee their historical significance. This rare opportunity offers avid soccer fans and collectors a chance to own a piece of soccer history and add an exceptional item to their treasured collection. Don't miss your chance for this once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to participate and win a piece of soccer history.
Unbelievable collection there. I remember when it came in, how excited we were all to see it. There's not a lot of Pele stuff out there. In fact, some of those cards, I'd never even seen them before, and here they are from Pele's personal collection and signed by him. So we're going to continue talking, and I've got some exciting news for everybody straight from Canada. Everybody's favorite member of the hobby. There he is, Mr. Tony Giese. Tony, how are you
doing? How's it going, Mike? Glad to be here.
Yeah, glad to have you as well.
I like your shirt, by the way.
Yeah, you know, I went with the Tony look. I didn't know if you were going to be on tonight, so I had to wear my shirt. And the suit was at the dry cleaners, so couldn't make it.
Ooh.
Is that the plus?
Same for me.
Nothing? You got me, Tony?
What's that? I'm sorry, I didn't hear you. We had a little
How come they didn't
difficulties up north of the border. Sorry.
Is that in the penthouse suite?
Not quite. I'm in the basement actually right now.
Nice, fitting. So tell the people at home why you're in Montreal.
Yeah, we're doing a show this weekend in Montreal. It's the Anti-Expo. We did it last year in November. They've moved it to a new venue. It's becoming a really big show, and we've got a lot of collectors, a lot of consigners north of the border. And you know, it's a great show. It's not even just for sports. A lot of times it's comics, watches, kind of everything. But great show. They're really building it up here, and very excited to be doing the show tomorrow.
Yeah. So comics too, Tony. You gonna bring me back some Spider-Man stuff or what?
Let's see what I can do.
Yeah, I want some Canadian Spider-Man stuff.
I'll work my magic and see what I can.
We were just talking to Joe, and he was talking about the 52 Tops mantle that's in a PSA 4, which is fresh to the hobby from a childhood collection, and we got that from Canada. It came from Canada.
Yeah, I mean, those 52 Tops high series were issued on the East Coast and in Canada. So there's a lot of times we'll be at a show, and people will point to our banners and say, hey, we had that card. And most of the time you're thinking, sure you did. But a lot of times they pop up here because people had them, they kept them. And they do surface from, you know, time to time. They
nice
surface here. Yeah.
Well, while we're talking 52 Tops, Tommy, we're going to run through these first 3 pretty quick. These are the items at the top of the sale that everybody always wants to talk about, the high value ones. We've got 2 great 52 Tops mantles. We've got a lot, as Joe talked about. We've got a PSA 7, gorgeous example there. And we've got an SGC 7.5, the Near Mint Plus. So interesting tonight to see where those 2 end up. And since bidding started a few weeks ago, they've kind of been neck and neck. The PSA 7's been slightly ahead, but they've been neck and neck the whole time. In fact, earlier today, before the show started, they both got 2 bids at the exact same time, and we're slowly ratcheting up the board. So with something like that, it's kind of a collector's preference, but both incredible cards. Both hold $400,000 estimates, so it'll be fun to see where those end up. Tony, you want to bet on which one's going to finish higher?
I like that SGC just for the centering alone. I mean, they're both gorgeous cards, but they're. I like that SGC just because it looks it's nicely centered. They're both remarkable cards, and anytime you can say fresh to the hobby, it's really, really cool, and just amazing. 52 Tops mantles. After the $12.6 million mantle from last year, we've had a lot of them come in, which is great. We'll take every single one that we can find or that is out there, because it's a special card. It's a card that always moves the radar. It really has. It always has.
And speaking of 52 Tops, I went through this one today just because it's so cool to see a master set of 52 Tops. This is a PSA graded near master set, 490 cards, all graded. It has a PSA 4 mantle. But Tony, you know how cool it is to go through the whole collection of 52 Tops when they're all graded and you can look through them all. It's really an unbelievable experience. Have you had a chance to look through one like that?
It's a ready-made collection, and it's just you can have them all at once. It's great. 2 Pafkos, it looks like. The Matthews is always a challenge. They're really a thing of beauty. Those early 50s cards. My personal favorite, as I've said before, is the 54 Tops, but the 52 kind of started it all. And every single one of those cards, they're so beautifully done. And it's almost like a painting, to be honest with you.
And I've got my eye on this one because we've talked about a lot over the last few years. A lot of people coming into the industry since the pandemic, or coming back into it, and the 52 Tops is so iconic. So this is something where I kind of think somebody who maybe was outside and is looking to invest in something really important, you could get somebody that hasn't been a lifelong collector to buy something like this, because like you said, it's a ready-made collection, ready to go, of one of the best, most famous sets in the hobby.
I mean, it was the first one, and that one usually, always is huge to have that first set. And you get your mantle, the Mays, the Robinson, those have gone up so much in the last two to 3 years. And as I said before, Eddie Matthews, I think, is very undervalued. He's very underrated overall, but that's a card also in the high series. Because of that high series, it really, really makes it such a great, great set. And I mean, I think, with new people getting into this, it's a great thing to buy.
Yeah, and speaking of great things to buy, if you can, up next is the Babe Ruth rookie card, which I'll say, when I was a kid, I didn't even know what Babe Ruth's rookie looked like. It's kind of strange that, lifelong hobbyists, of course, recognize this card, the 1916 M1015, but it doesn't have that famous outside mainstream appeal or image that people just know, like the Jordan rookie, or the Mantle 51 Bowman, or the Jackie Robinson rookie. But I mean, you could say it's the most important card in the industry.
It is. I mean, anything Ruth has gone up the last, I'd say, year and a half, 2 years. We've seen it with his autograph, anything game used, of course, and his rookie card. You can't top that. And you're seeing a lot of people, and you just mentioned it, investors, getting his first card. There's not a lot of these out there, and to have one is a status symbol in our hobby. And
this one, there's a limited quantity of them available. The high grade copies are approaching or above 7 figures. So this one in a 1.5 presents nicely. You can see there's the crease at the knee, but the upper portion of his torso remains mainly unaffected. So this is one. I mean, I'm not going to say a card that's going to sell for over $250,000 is affordable, but comparatively to where those high grade Ruth rookies go, this is more affordable than those. So although it's doing fantastic already, becoming less affordable by the moment.
By the bid. You're right.
But this next one is just something I've looked at almost every day since it came in. This is a 1910, so we're talking 113 years old, Tony, E98 set of 30 Ty Cobb in a PSA Gem Mint 10. It is truly unbelievable, something so old, especially from one of the most popular players, if not the most popular player at the time, could be in pristine condition like this. When we did sell the Black Swamp find of E98s several years ago, and there was a lot of high quality ones, but to see a Cobb, mid-career card like this in a 10 is unbelievable.
Look at the centering. Look at the background colors. I mean, it just really pops. It really jumps out. And it's Cobb. I mean, Cobb was the first real big superstar in baseball. And then along came Babe Ruth. But I mean, Cobb, anything of Cobb's, it's so collectible. It's a beautiful pose. It's a great look. But I love that deep, dark red background on it.
And defensive pose from Cobb. Not many.
Yeah, kind of a rare pose. You think of him with a baseball bat in his hands, but this one here, he's got his glove on. He's got his jacket. It's a great card with great centering. Unimprovable card.
All right, and I've been talking the whole time, Tony, and you came in late.
You're doing a good job of it, though. I got to tell you.
My coworkers will tell you I have no problem talking too much. So let's talk about the football rookie card you put on your list.
Bronco Nagurski, I believe it was, wasn't it? Yeah, I mean, this one here, he is one of the guys, Bronco Nagurski, Red Grange, who really helped make football what it is now. For so long, baseball was always the thing, but Nagurski, Red Grange really helped football kind of elevate it. It was more of a college game than it was the NFL, but this is kind of the benchmark, the national chickle, the first mainstream football set. And this one here, I mean, graded PSA EX6, just wonderful borders, great centering, and just Bronco Nagurski, 77,500 right now. Just a remarkable card. And the early stuff is hard to find, and I've been saying this for a long time. I think football is the next thing that's really going to hit, because there's so many football fans that leads to people buying football items, and this is one of the earliest football sets that there is, and just of one of the biggest superstars too. So great card, high grade.
Yeah, and less than 200 total in the PSA population. Mm-hmm. So really hard to come by. And like you said, football card, during the pandemic, basketball really separated itself from football cards. And I think we're going to see football cards start to kind of catch up. And, this is one of the most iconic ones right here. And you got another iconic football rookie card up next, the Jim Brown.
Yeah, the 1957 Jim Brown. I'm sorry, 58 Jim Brown card. He is recognized as the greatest football player of all time. Apologies to Tom Brady, but forever Jim Brown was the standard. Even running backs today, I mean, he set the mark so high, and he retired at the age of 29. And this one here, I just thought was, a really good example of his rookie card. Most of the time they're really off center, or there's bad borders. But this one here is a really high-end example of that rookie card. And again, I think Jim Brown will get his due at some point. People will really recognize him as the greatest football player of all time. And I think he's one that, for guys looking to buy stuff, he is one guy that's always going to be
top of mind,
relevant, I guess. We talk about the top 5 players. He's definitely one of them, and the greatest running back of all time. And that's such a tough spot too. And he went to Hollywood and then made his mark there. But I think it's a really good rookie card to invest in.
And another aspect of him is he was big in the civil rights movement. And, we've seen people like that, Muhammad Ali, of course, Jackie Robinson, Bill Russell. That off the field, off the court impact really means a lot to people. And, he was right there with all those guys and their true force. So I love that aspect of his collectibles as well. Over the past about year now, Tony, we've talked a lot about surging prices for non-rookie entries. And we've seen some great prices for cards that weren't rookies. And this next one is right in line with that, 68 Topps Willie Mays. It is a PSA Gem Mint 10. The 68 Topps, a really popular series, but very difficult condition-wise. that full bleed border, that weird design they have on that border. Stumbling block for a lot of collectors, but this one is beautiful. Over 4,000 submissions of this card to PSA. This is one of just 13 in a Gem Mint 10. It's a really popular one. Later career, but
it's a great pose, by the way, too. He's got his bat, he's kind of aging a little bit, but it's a great pose. And yeah, I mean, centering on these is always so difficult on those 60s and 70s cards. And yeah, he's getting a little bit towards the end of his run, but still, it's just a really nice maze card. And we've seen, his autograph go up, his game use stuff go up tremendously. And I think this is also going to go up as well.
Pregnant pauses from Tony.
I know, sorry.
This next one is another late career, actually post-career. 69 tops Mickey Mantle here. This is the last name in white variant. PSA near mint to mint 8. It's the mix last tops card here. Great pose as well. Very popular image of the Mick. This one, very tough to get in high grade as well. 1,400 white letter Mantle cards submitted to PSA. This one's in the top 3.5%. I just did that math in my head, Tony.
That's pretty impressive. That's better than I could do.
Yeah. So this is a cool one, kind of interesting that it's 69, 68 was his last year. They thought he was going to come back, but he didn't. What do you think about that one?
The left-handed pose as well. I mean, it's a great look. Of course, it's at the end of his line, but still, it's a great Mantle card, and it's hard to find these in high grade, and especially with that variant as well. So, great card of Mantle. His last tops issue from his playing days.
And it's been 7 years since we've offered one of these in that grade. So that's a long time in the auction cycle world.
And he's always so popular. He always has been since I started in the mid 80s. He was always the guy that everybody loved, and his autographs, everything of his is always gone up.
Another thing that's gone up that we've been talking about a lot lately is autographed vintage cards. One reason certainly is rarity. Another one is all these people coming into the industry. The modern cards have autographs. They don't think it's a thing about a vintage card having an autograph. They like it. And this is one I love. The 52 tops
Yes.
Robinson sign. This is one that stopped down the department when it came in. PSA 7 autograph from Jackie there. Nice location. It's a tough card to find a location on for the autograph, but he did it there, and it's got his best wishes as well. And there just aren't many of these out there. So I think this one's going to do a great number tonight. You can see it's at 130 already. Beautiful card.
It is. And, most people would send in index cards or Hall of Fame cards or something like that. And not many people sent in the actual baseball cards. And we've seen Robinson stuff go up and up and up. And, there's just not very many of these out there. It's a classic 52 tops. And, people collected rookies forever, but now they've gotten to the price where nobody can afford them. They're going to the next best thing. And this year, I mean, the 52 tops Robinson is about as good as you can get.
Yeah, and speaking of signed cards, we have an amazing collection of signed exhibits in this auction. A couple dozen, actually. And, of course, the most important and the most popular one is the Lou Gehrig signed rookie, the 25 exhibit. Unbelievable to see this. I mean, there's less than 100 Gehrig exhibits in the combined PSA and SGC population. So a signed example, unreal, and fresh to the hobby. This whole collection is fresh to the hobby. So we've got this one, which is just incredible. And if you're looking for signed exhibits, this is the auction to do it, because we've also got a signed Babe Ruth exhibit, which I love this. It's a batting pose as well. I'm really making Tommy work back there.
He's doing a great job, as always.
Keeping up. Nice location. The Bambino always knew where to sign everything in the right spot. And he nailed it right there. And then this next one, I had never seen it before. I bet you hadn't either, Tony, because it's the only one that exists in any population. Walter Johnson.
Oh, that's great.
How about that?
Yeah, Yeah. Yeah. I mean, those, again, people got easy things to get signed, and, they didn't send these in all that often for autographs. And they look so beautiful on those cards. I mean, they just really stand out. And those guys had such awesome autographs. They really did. All three of those guys. And Walter Johnson, the standard for pitching excellence. He really, truly was. And he kind of died younger, too, to be honest with you. So there's not a lot of these out there. And people, again, they would get scorecards signed, they'd get index cards signed, but they didn't get these signed all that much. And now, these things have just gone up amazingly in the last, 5-10 years now. They really have.
And a great medium for signing, oversized.
Yep.
They all have good spots for an autograph. So if you're looking for signed cards, it's a great auction for that, and especially signed exhibits. There's an incredible collection in here, and it goes from some people you've never heard of, as you can see, all the way to the biggest luminaries in the sport.
Absolutely.
Tony, what do you got as far as signed cards?
Well, what do we got next here? I don't have my list in front of me.
Roberto Clemente.
Roberto Clemente, yeah. I mean, this card is just extremely difficult to find signed, and I think, as I mentioned, the last show we did, I remember when this was a $20,000 card 8 years ago, and now they've gone up to almost $100,000. And this one, he put a perfect spot on it, blue ballpoint. He didn't sign it over anything. You can see it. It's a great signature. And again, you can find his autograph. I mean, he did sign things, mostly on team balls, but his rookie card, very difficult. You could go years in between seeing these, and this one here is one of the nicest I've ever seen. Just put it right above the stamping, so it's a great autograph of the great one, Roberto Clemente.
Yeah, and we have been blessed to have a couple of those in the last couple auctions, and they've both done fabulously, and I expect this one to do that well. I like that you chose this one, the Mantle and Boyer 60 top.
Yeah, and I was looking through the auction list, and Kenny Boyer died very young. To find him on a baseball card is not very common. And of course, having Mantle too, somebody had the foresight to get them both on this card. It's a great card of two, of course, legends of the game. But Kenny Boyer is a relatively tough signature. Almost an impossible single sign baseball to find. Mainly when you see them, they are on team balls. But to find these two together is very unique and very cool, I thought.
Yeah, good choice. So like we talked about with Joe, of course, we talk about the high-end stuff, but there's signed cards at all levels for collectors in this one. So if you're looking to jump into that genre of the hobby, or you're waist deep in it and you want to get deeper, a lot of good options for all levels of collectors. Tony, you got your big board up there? We haven't had
what do we got? I want to hit the refresh button here. Let's take a look.
You don't have to refresh it. It says it.
I'm sorry. One of these days I am going to understand that. No, I'm kidding.
There we go.
1977 Topps Baseball vending box. 1950 the Jackie Robinson 54 Topps PSA 9 42,000. That's kind of apropos.
Oh, that Garrick signed exhibit just got hit.
Just got hit at 135. So the bids are coming in. What do we have left?
55 minutes.
55 minutes officially. 1962 Topps on open box, 180,000, which
that one's to go banana.
That's such a great piece, and I mean it's so cool when you see that stuff. And Jason Sims and I were out with that client who had that box, and I think they had a candy store, and they would keep some behind, and the guy gave them away as gifts, and built up his collection that way, just with unopened boxes. And it's just amazing when you see these great finds. 1958 Topps complete graded set, 15,000. So we got a 79 Munson at 1,100 right now. Oh, I'm sorry, 1150 right now. So that one's kind of making
battle going on.
And that's a tough one because there's literally a 3-month span for him to sign that thing, and everybody needs that card. So that's one that's just so difficult to find. But yeah, the bids are starting to come in right now, which is always fun to see.
Indeed. So we're going to take a short break. We'll come back and Tony, let's talk about some gamers when we come back. How does that sound?
That sounds great to me. I can't wait.
All right, let's do it. And in the meantime, take a look at some members of the Heritage Sports Department talking about their favorite items in the auction.
Tony from Heritage, and one of the absolute coolest football jerseys in the May catalog sale, this 1991-92 Marshall Faulk Game U San Diego State jersey, just battered with use. You know, that's what sets football apart from all the other sports, is like their jerseys show actual wear, loaded with, I believe, like 14 repairs. This is a lightweight jersey for its time, but shows outstanding use, especially in the shoulders, which is where running backs usually take the brunt of the force from the tacklers. But just a really, really cool lightweight jersey, but also these are custom sleeves, so I have never seen a better Marshall Faulk jersey in my 18 years, and this he really put them on the map football wise. Great use, great jersey.
Oh, hello. In the 90s, when the internet began to assert itself in every part of life, website domains became coveted assets. Now, as blockchain technology begins to assert itself in art, life, sports, and business, Ethereum name services, or ENS, are also becoming coveted assets. These will become commodities for companies, brands, teams, and venues that are looking to take the next step in client and fan relationship, as well as the governing crypto establishments. We're proud to be the first major auction house to offer ENS domain names, and we've got 3 incredible sports-related ones in our current auction closing next week, including A's.f, CamdenYard.f, and PNCArena.f. Each of these offers incredible opportunities for the digital market to take advantage of the next step in sports and entertainment.
Tony, I know you're ready to take part in the next step of sports digital entertainment. Am I right?
Absolutely. I can't wait.
Did you get any food? You said you landed
I
to
did.
the hotel. You got to eat. What fine cuisine did you get from our neighbor?
I had some
order?
shrimp and pasta. I was so hungry. I hadn't eaten all day long. Very long trip.
Well, we're glad you made it. A lot going on tonight. We're going to get into some gamers, but first I want to talk about 2 items that were so cool when they came in. Love to see them. This first one is a Sultan of SWAT award. Tony, had you ever seen one of these before you worked at Heritage?
I had never seen one before. No. They're very rare, and they display so well, but the guy that's depicted on that award really stands out in my
Ted Williams, Sultan of SWAT award. Unreal. We've been lucky enough to handle a few of them, but this one, the most significant, won it in 1957. This was an award that wasn't given out every year, and it's cool around the outside of it. It has kind of a career achievements thing for Ted Williams. The entirety of his offensive brilliance up to that day really is 5 AL batting titles, 4 seasons as the league's most productive home run hitter, 2 seasons as the AL MVP, 4 seasons as the American League RBI hitter, and then it's got a list of Williams' status as an all-star. Left some blank too for the all-star games to come, like they knew. And he might win.
He wasn't done yet.
He might win a few more. So it's like 8 inches tall, and it's just very cool. I mean, that's something that if you put it on display in your collection, as soon as people come in, they're going to say, I've never seen one of those. What is it? And did Ted Williams win that? So what do you think about the Sultan of SWAT awards, Tony?
I think it's so cool because it links two of the game's greats. I mean, 2 of the best hitters of all time together. And it's Ted Williams winning a Babe Ruth award. You can't get better than that. You're so right. It displays remarkably. It's a great piece. And, just having anything Williams is great, but having it linked to Babe Ruth, how do you top that?
And it comes from the Ted Williams estate. Has a letter of provenance from Ted Williams' daughter and a cool photo of Ted when he got it. So Awesome piece there. Another thing we'll never be able to afford, Tony.
No, us together aren't going to be able to afford that. I don't think.
No, we can barely afford the shrimp and pasta you have. We have a lot of great Ted Williams items in the auction. This is another one. His 1966 Hall of Fame ring. I was talking to Jonathan, our head cataloger, about this, and he said possibly the most deserving Hall of Fame entry. It's in the top 10 for sure, making this one of the most important Hall of Fame rings that exist. And Hall of Fame rings just don't come out. We're lucky at Heritage. We see a lot of championship rings, all-star rings, but when players or families are ready to sell collections, a lot of times they want to keep the Hall of Fame ones.
That's exactly right. That's the last thing that they usually sell is the Hall of Fame ring. It's the ultimate achievement. I understand World Series rings are great, but this one here, Teddy Ballgame, his Hall of Fame ring, you can't top that. And it's a gorgeous condition, as you can tell. And it's, again, I mean, Ted Williams, anything of his is really awesome to have. But this one here is probably one of the nicest that I've ever seen. Because usually they would wear them quite a bit, so they're worn down. But this one here, great shape, great condition.
Yeah, and a World Series ring, is a 1-year achievement. The Hall of Fame was the career achievement. So you can see why they hold on to it. Likewise, comes with a letter of provenance from Ted Williams' daughter. Unbelievable piece there that's going to be closing tomorrow night. Now, we promised the people some gamers, Tony. Let's go.
Let's go.
Talk some bats. And no surprise from me, you picked the 65 Clemente bat to go first.
Yeah, I mean, his bats with the flared knob, light pine tar, great use. I remember when his bats were like 10, 12,000, for something like this. Now you're like,
why didn't we buy them all? Why didn't we buy them all back then, Tony?
We should have. Moment bats are now, 50, 60,000, if not more. But his regular bats, they've gone up a great deal. But he had some great characteristics on his bats. Like I said, the flared knob, that 21 that he wrote, it's very distinctive. And he's the guy for Pirates fans. He's the guy. And I mean, right now, 30,000 right now, and it's got 1 day left. That could do 40 alone, which is pretty much 4 times what they used to go for. So great to see that. It's great bat though.
And speaking of great bats, you're jumping forward in time. 2018 Ohtani rookie bat.
Yeah, I remember when his stuff was a little soft, about 4 or 5 years ago. But now, look at this, $30,000. He's just one of those guys that he's just, bats are a little tougher to get now. They used to be a little bit easier. Now a lot of teams keep the bats and they sell them in the team stores. You don't see as many game-used bats like you used to of the current stars. And this one here, it's got the manufacturer date listed on it. It's got MLB, PSA, DNA 9.5. It's got everything that you'd want. And he's the guy of this generation that is a once-in-a-lifetime player. I mean, we literally had Ruth who pitched and hit. Now we have Ohtani. And, I mean, his stuff has just gone up a great deal. And he's the guy. They say he's going to get $600 million next year when he signs his next deal, and
maybe he'll be able to afford some of his game use.
He'll probably keep up with bats after that, I'm guessing.
Yeah, you'd think so. I picked a bat as well, Tony. I'm not the bat expert you are, but I love the stories, and this one has an amazing story. This is a 36-37 Jimmy Fox game used bat. Really underrated guy in the hobby, I'd say. Jimmy Fox, just an incredible player. Love the Double X nickname as well. But this one has great provenance. It comes from Fox's family directly. This is its hobby debut. It's been in his family since he used it in the mid-30s. And just an incredible piece here, covered in wear. It's got so many ball marks, cleat divots, grain checking, 35 inches, 33.7 ounces, and it's a Hilrick and Bradbury R43. Now, there, good job, Tommy. Right there on the signature that we were looking at. So it's signed to my good friend Bob. I hope you always bat 1,000%, Jimmy Fox. So a vintage signature from Fox there. Now, Bob the identity of Bob has been lost to history, but Jimmy Fox did follow Robert Lefty Grove from Philadelphia to Boston 2 years after the Hall of Fame Southpaw's departure. So maybe him?
Could be. I don't know. It's kind of a common name, but
Is it a fun one to think about? But great piece of history here, and like I said, comes from his family, so great provenance. PSA GU 9.5, so unimpeachable there. Great use, and it's got a autograph and a fun inscription, I'll say, on that. And I think that Fox is somebody who's undervalued, so I think somebody should take a shot at this one.
Yeah, he is. I mean, he was so good when he played, but his autograph is tough. So to have it actually signed by him too adds an interesting layer to it. It really, really does. And it's a 9.5 too. I mean, everyone's looking for those high grade ones. This is probably one of the nicest Jimmy Fox bets that you could own from his days with the Red Sox too. So you just can't beat that bet.
All right, let's talk some game-worn jerseys. And Tony, I love this Pittsburgh one you picked out.
Yeah, Dwight White, steel curtain, photo match to his 73 Topps rookie card. Awesome. I mean, you want to talk a high-end Steelers jersey, this is it. And the thing is, the Steelers were, I'm not going to say Art Rooney was cheap, but Art Rooney was frugal. How's that?
Yeah,
that might be a nice way of saying it. For the longest time, their game-worn jerseys were very hard to find. They're almost impossible. And this one here has got such great use. It's from when he was dominating the league, and it's such a great shirt. And again, to have it photo matched is so difficult, especially on those 70s jerseys. And this one here, it's got everything you could want. And I mean, just from one of the greatest football teams of all time, and it's that local manufacturer, Olympic. Just a great shirt, great use, and of a remarkable player from the Steelers' dominating days of the 70s. This is kind of early in their run too, which is kind of neat.
First team All-Pro his rookie year. How about that?
That's impressive. And I mean, they had Mean Joe Green. They had all these other guys on that line. Great defense all the way through. But he was one of the guys that helped make them champions. He really was.
His whole career in Pittsburgh, steel curtain, and he's in their Hall of Honor. So some Pittsburgh fan is going to be pretty happy.
This is such a tough shirt to find. And you put that on a mannequin, there's your centerpiece item right there.
Tony always representing the big mannequin lobby.
Love the mannequins.
Chris Narrett. If you need a mannequin, they're the guys to talk to. All right,
I've got a couple.
It's time. I haven't brought it up since it happened, but now
I know it's coming. I know, and that's you know what? I actually picked it because I figured we could have a little conversation about it.
All right, Aaron Rodgers first. Thoughts on the move, the departure?
I think it was time. I think we all knew it was on the table, and I hope he does well. I mean, he was great for the Packers for a long time. Got him a Super Bowl, so can't complain. Wish there was 3 Super Bowls from him, but that being said, great shirt. Again, some of these Packer jerseys are tough to find, and this one here is at $23,000. They've been going for $25,000 to $40,000. All right, they've been doing pretty good numbers now, and I think as the years go on and people see how good he really truly was, these will continue to go up. But again, photo matched 2016, great one. I like that it's a home jersey. I like that aspect of it. And their jerseys were hard to find. They really were. And I think it was 17, 18 years he was the guy in Green Bay. So it's going to be tough to see him not under center with the Packers. I will say that.
You can be rooting for a Jets-Packers Super Bowl? Is that what happens now?
You know what? I'm not going to root against him. I just hope he does play 65% of his snaps, so they get that draft pick. And
I'll say this, Tony. I was glad I never had to see Troy Aikman play in a different team's uniform.
Yeah.
And I say that to say this. I met Troy Aikman today because he was at the office. So there.
What, Troy Aikman was at Heritage?
Yeah.
I miss everything.
I know. Sorry, buddy.
God. Tell him to come back on Tuesday.
Yeah, maybe take me to Canada next time. All right, I'm glad you chose this next jersey. I posted about it the other day, and it is awesome. The Marshawn Lynch game.
Yeah, I mean, he is a cult hero. He ran so hard. And, he started out with the Bills and, he wasn't a huge factor. But when he went to Seattle, he really created a name for himself, got them their only Super Bowl title. And, he is a huge, huge following, ran extremely hard, and photo match Marshawn Lynch. Right now, 5250, that's probably a $10,000, $12,000 jersey, I would say at least. He will be in the Hall of Fame at some point.
2013, first year he won a rushing title.
Oh, it was? Really? Okay.
Yeah. It means match 2. He had 100 yards and a touchdown, and you can see he ran over some people for sure.
And he's one of those guys that even if he wasn't on your team, you just liked him. He's got a great attitude. He's unique, and he's just a fun guy, and a great shirt from, the guy, their best running back.
Just
not named Kurt Warner.
Watched him in season 3 of Westworld, going through Westworld, and he popped up in season 3. So there you go. Hilarious. I love this one. Another guy that's a cult phenomenon, Rob Gronkowski. Everybody loves him. This is a 2017 Gronk gamer.
I saw him play one time, and I swear to God, he was a man among boys. I mean, guys just hanging off him. Nobody could stop this guy. He was that good. And what other tight end can bring $20,000 on a game-worn jersey? There's not many. He is probably, I think he might be regarded as the finest tight end of all time. I mean, Ozzie Newsome, Kellen Winslow were great. Witten was great. But that was for you, by the way. But Gronk was a man among boys when he played. And to get those Super Bowls that he got, and then he also got one with Tampa Bay too. So, I mean, he kind of set the standard, but he just was unguardable. Unstoppable.
Speaking of a man among boys, so this is photo match to October 22nd when they played the Falcons, and you see all the players do the jersey swaps after. He swapped jerseys with Julio Jones and signed this jersey to Julio Jones. Great inscription from Gronk, very Gronk-esque. He said, "Julio, keep up the freak stats, you a baller." You can definitely see Gronk saying that. So both for sure are going to be Hall of Famers. Very cool addition there that it's one Hall of Famer giving it to another and showing a little respect there with the jersey swap. Great item there.
Yeah, and the whole thing about Gronk was he was fun. It wasn't made up. He was just a fun guy. And just, again, he was different world, though. He was just so good.
And I'm going to take it back a little bit now, Tony. I'm going back to 1957. This is a beautiful Stan Musial St. Louis Cardinals gamer. Musial was somebody, who he was, but I didn't know that much about him until we sold the Stan Musial collection. Man, that was over a decade ago, I believe. But beautiful jersey here, and we were able to photo match it, which you know how hard it is to photo match these vintage jerseys, especially one that's just all gray. But yeah, they were able to do it. Sports Investors, shout out to them. And they photo matched it to the game when he set the National League consecutive games record, June 12, 1957. 823 games in a row for the man. So very cool. 57 was also his final batting championship. So a big jersey, that classic St. Louis Cardinals design. Also, in looking into this, I found a photo of him at the game, and he's with like an 8-year-old boy, and the caption said that boy had fallen into a well and was trapped in the well for 5 days. And when they finally got him out, he wanted to go see a Cardinals game, and he got Stan Musial before the game when Musial wore this jersey right here. Little piece of history for you there, Tony.
Yeah, they have. I would challenge anybody to. They have the nicest uniforms. It's such a classic look. Birds on bat is what they call it. The chenille, you've got everything there. The chain stitch name. The year in the tail, they've got everything. They do such a good job with their history, their museum. They have a lot of these uniforms in their Hall of Fame. And for one of these to actually reach the auction block, very, very rare. But classic look, upstand the man. I mean, how do you beat that? Just all around great jersey.
Whoever designed that logo, I hope they're still getting residuals off that.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, it's such a good look. It always has been. And they had the black bat, I don't know, in the 30s or 40s, but this one here, just such a great look. And yeah, I'm glad that they've kept it. They haven't changed it much because it's just such a great look.
Speaking of great looks, what can you tell us about this Maurice Lucas jersey, Tony?
ABA, you just can't beat the funky styles, the color combinations that they had, and anything Kentucky. There's just not much of this out there, and there's a cult following for ABA. That beautiful name on back. It's just such a clean look, and again, this one here. Just a gorgeous jersey with a great piping in the shoulders and the sleeve ends. Maurice Lucas, too, one of the all-time greats, and it's photo matched to an NBA semifinal game. So just a great piece, great look, and like I said, ABA and AFL, they have huge followings, and this one here, just a great jersey.
I love you going from the ABA to the Globetrotters.
Yes, I love those Globetrotter jerseys. Every time I see them, they stand out. Those stars that they have on the sides, the name on back. There's just such a beautiful look to these. And I love this one. You got the two-color tackle twill team name, then you've got the single-color yellow Globetrotters on the bottom, and it's Curly Neal, one of the best Globetrotters that ever played. And there's a lot for that time period. There's a lot going on in that jersey, but those stars really make it stand out, and it's just a clean look. And I always love seeing those. I never get tired of seeing those, and it's of one of the all-timers, Curly Neal.
Can you believe we have two Globetrotter jerseys in this auction?
You do, yes. And I was trying to figure out which one I wanted to talk about, because they were both of legends. And I'm like, well, Curly Neal, Meadowlark Lemon. It's Meadowlark Lemon.
So thank you for saving Meadowlark Lemon for me, fitting the Clown Prince. Yeah, he was amazing. Over 3 decades with the Globetrotters. Hilarious individual. Always messing with the referees, one of his great bits, but could also hit the impossible shots. So yeah, you do not see many Globetrotter gamers, and we have 2 in this auction. So,
and I love that name on back. If you could go back to that, look at the way they spaced it like that. Just a beautiful name on back, and again, those stars really help set it off. Great jerseys, and I mean, we all watched them growing up on ABC's Wide World of Sports, and they actually have one of their gamers. Just a beautiful shirt.
Yeah, and don't forget them being on Scooby-Doo. That's how I first.
Oh, they were. You're right. Very good call. Yeah, I remember that.
Curly Neal, big player on that.
True. Very good call, Mike.
And speaking of photo match gamers, I was very excited when they were able to photo match this Olajuwon jersey. Beautiful look, one of the great players, and someone that I think is underrated in the collectibles community. 2-time champion, MVP, 50 greatest players. When he finally made it to the finals, I mean, he dominated, and dominated Ewing, which I hated to see, but he took it to Robinson to get.
He took it to Shaq.
Yes, dominated.
That was a Shaq guy. Yeah, I mean, anytime you can say photo matched on a jersey, that's such a huge thing to add to it. And this one here, 87, is kind of earlier in his run. And it's a great jersey, a beautiful look, and of one of the all-time great centers of the league. Right now, 6,500. I think this thing's going to really go up quite a bit the next day.
Yeah. Great stuff. Matched to 4 games. That's always nice, too, when you can put the additional games on there. And then, Tony, I had to pull out one of the Knicks jerseys, of course, and we got a awesome Ewing gamer here from 92, 93. And they were really building that team that just couldn't get over the edge. But a New York legend. You've seen him at the games and the playoffs, and the stands just go crazy. You got a trainer provenance on this one, which
Yep.
adds a lot, and it's signed by Ewing, who's a really tough autograph, especially on something like this, because he doesn't do shows, and when are you going to be carrying a gamer around? So,
No, and people are probably too scared to ask him because again, he did not sign a lot. He still to this day hasn't done much, and even when he does, it's very limited. He doesn't do a lot. He doesn't do anything public. And yeah, this one has got great provenance, and it's a great shirt. I mean, those teams were fun. I mean, they were rough and tumble. They were
fun to play against,
starts, all those guys. But this was he was the guy. He was their catalyst. He really truly was. And I mean, I think this one, there may be a day where that jersey will photo match.
Yeah,
there very well could, because it's got great provenance, and some of the other ones from that collector did photo match. So there always is a chance that it could. And just a great shirt. And I love that royal blue. Looks so beautiful with that orange and white on it. It's a great look. It's a great look of one of the all-time greats.
and if you're a Knicks fan, we've got a John Starks gamer in this section as well, which you do not see a lot of those. But for Knicks fans, that's somebody you got to have a Starks gamer in your
undrafted. I mean, he's a guy. How do you cheer against him? He played hard, never backed down from anybody, and I'll never forget. I always felt so bad for him that finals game. He missed all those shots. I'm not trying to, get you going, Mike, or anything, but I always felt bad for him because he was a guy. He's a great story, and just came from nowhere, basically undrafted, and had a great career. I think he made an All-Star.
He did,
if I'm not mistaken.
definitely. In fact, Ewing, Starks, and Oakley all made an All-Star game the same year.
Oh, they did? I didn't know they all made it the same year.
That's a very fan-friendly All-Star game. So we're going to take a quick break. Tony, check the big board. What do we got going on?
All right. Wait, we got what, 27 minutes?
27 minutes.
Unofficially 27.
Yeah,
Get your bids in before that, though. We don't want to be missing out on things. Packer original negatives. Whoa. In photos, 150, 460, 4,700. Shoebox collection, which a lot of people love those. Here's an interesting one. Wayne Gretzky signed UDA jersey 850, which is really good. 71 Topps Maravich 420 SGC 96.
Ooh, the Oilers jersey too. That's cool.
Which one is?
It's the signed Oilers jersey by Gretzky.
Yeah, that is. He doesn't do a lot of signs. I mean, he's signed throughout his life, but he doesn't do anything really public ever. So
another guy now like Jordan and Brady, you're just not get him to sign anything.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, so we're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we're going to talk a little more cards. Session 1 extended bidding is going to begin in about 25 minutes, so we'll hit a few more cards and take a look at some members of the Heritage Sports Department. There's more than just me and Tony here, I promise. Talking about their favorite.
God, I hope so.
My name is Zach Gendro. I'm a sports card specialist here at Heritage, and I have a W600 Sporting Life cabinet of Hannes Wagner that dates from 1902 to 1911. The reason I picked this card is because Wagner is one of my favorite players of all time. He's actually is my favorite player of all time, and he's one of the greatest that ever played. He still ranks in the top 10 for hits, doubles, triples, and stolen bases over 100 years after he retired. He was inducted into the Hall of Fame in 1936. He was one of the first 5 players to get in. These cards are especially interesting because they were issued to promote a magazine, and they're kind of a larger format. They're called cabinets, which is kind of a popular format and size of the time. They were given away, or you could order them actually by sending in a coupon that was issued in with the magazine, and you could actually pick your player, which is kind of interesting as well. So overall, it's a very fine example, and this should do very well. It's a very popular pose that was used for his famous T206 card as well.
All right, this is by far the biggest jersey I've ever seen in my life. It's a Shaquille O'Neal photo match jersey to the 2005-2006 championship Heat season, and it's a size 62, which I've never seen a jersey even close to a 62. And if I put this on right now, it'd be down to my ankles. But this is in our May catalog auction. This is an early 1970s Ray Nitschke game-worn Green Bay Packers jersey. One of the last jerseys ever worn by Nitschke. This is one that was given to our consignor Steve Joblius by the Packers equipment manager after Nitschke retired. Displaying 2 team repairs at the shoulders, this was the only jersey saved by our consignor who worked for the team for over 50 years.
All right, we're back. Tony, how about that? Zach got in on
Two of my absolute favorites. Zach, great job. Great. He knows baseball as well as anybody that I know. And Narrett, who's that again? No, it's kidding.
How many
Narrett
people are
Mr. Football.
have Honus Wagner as their favorite player?
Not many. You know what the thing about Zach is? He creates these great jerseys that he hand makes. And every once in a while, he'll be coming in the office. I'm like, I've never seen that. And he goes, you know why? Because I made it. Great mind. He does a wonderful job.
Ness.
What's that?
He's going to take down Mitchell and Ness.
He could. Absolutely. I love it because he's got a good mind. He really does. And Narrett, of course, with football is he's really good.
He's got a lot of knowledge, for sure.
He does, absolutely. And he's a young guy, too. He's a young guy.
Chris Narrett?
Yeah, he's younger than I am.
Yeah, everything's relative, I guess. I mean, he's Rob Rosen. We know that.
Oh, love Rob.
Yeah, I know. He's about to retire, I think. He's well past retirement age.
No, he's got a lot of years left in him.
Oh, does he?
I think he's got 15 left in him. He's young yet.
Well, speaking of the opposite of that VP, let's talk rookie cards real quick. Got a 68 Topps Johnny Bench. We've talked about a few 68 Topps cards. This one also a gem mint 10, as you said earlier, Tony. Really hard to get a 10 in the 68 Topps. What do you like about the Bench rookie?
I mean, there's nothing not to like about it. I mean, he's regarded as the greatest backstop of all time. And these cards are just so tough to find in high grade. To get that 10 grade also is virtually impossible. And it's just amazing how young he looks. Most of the photos you see of Johnny Bench, mid to late 70s when he was dominating the game, and to see him this young, it's remarkable. It's funny to see, and it's a great card. I mean, centering's great on it, corners, sharp as you could ever imagine, and to see him that young though, you don't see that very often.
So almost 11,000 of these cards have been submitted to PSA. This is one of just 16 in a 10. How about that? Those odds right there. You're not going to find one. Just buy this one, right?
Absolutely. Get the best of the best right there. I mean, he is regarded as the finest catcher of all time, and why not have the best?
Now, Tony, up next, a card I know you're very familiar with. This is the 1959 Minko JCM 24 Hoshiganju Sadahara O rookie card right here. We've had some great Sadahara O cards in the last couple auctions, which I wasn't real familiar with his card catalog, but this is another beautiful one, an SGC Near Mint 8. So this is a Minko card, which Minko was a card tossing game that they would play. Of course, baseball huge in Japan as well, and they would play games with them. So finding them in high grade, I mean, they're rare, period, but finding them in high grade is so difficult. And this one is the gold border example, and this is the only gold border example of this rookie card in the SGC population from the global home run king.
I think as the years go on, some of these oddball issues are starting to get more and more love. You mentioned it with Pele. Sadahara O is another one that, there's not many of these in the first place. To get a high grade example, very, very difficult. And I think as more collectors get into this industry, they will gravitate towards some of these oddball issues that you rarely see, because there's not a very large population of them, and there's not going to be a big find of those ever coming out, most likely. So
yeah,
it's a really cool card too, and it's early for him, and he is the standard home run hitter, Japanese, and also he's kind of the guy with the most home runs of all time, as far as professional baseball
Can't
goes.
question that statistic wise.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, those Japanese issued cards are very rare, very hard to
Mhm.
come by. And I think somebody's gonna find a nice deal on this one. Up next, a card I was not very familiar with either, the 1980 OPG Wayne Gretzky. Tony, what do you know about the sophomore release?
All I remember about those were one of my friends had them, and they had the puck you could scratch off because that was black, and then you could scratch it off, and of course we always scratch them off. I never owned this card, but as OPG card, as we all know, OPG condition sensitive, widely collected. I mean, that's what people want are the OPGs. So these, and to get a Gem Mint 10, even though it was issued in 1980, centering has always been an issue on these cards. And they have, most people can't, very few people can afford that rookie card in high grade, much less a Gem Mint 10. Forces people to go to that second year. And this is a beautiful card. It's a great, great look. He's centered well in the card. And Gretzky early in his career. And, we saw it with Roberto Clemente. We saw it a couple auctions ago with, some of his other issues have really gone up in value. This one, I think, is got a lot of potential to go up in value.
I agree. Great image. And the centering on this issue is horrible usually. Great example. Tony, you've got a great rookie here, 78 Topps.
Yeah, the Molitor Alan Trammell print dots
rookie
have been marred this card for so long. And most of them have print dots by the Molitor, and just so many of them have. So to get in, also, as we always mention, centering's tough on these, but the print dots have just made this card virtually impossible to get a Gem Mint 10 on. This one has 2 Hall of Famers, which is remarkable in itself, but great, great card. One of the better 70s cards, which you could own, and it was at 18.5 right now. And
is it the best Mickey Klutz card, do you think?
Mickey Klutz and UL Washington, no less. Yeah. Great card. I mean, Molitor, was the Hall of Famer, but then Alan Trammell went in, years ago. So it's really, it's really helped this card. And, it's one of the top probably 5 cards maybe of the 70s, in a Gem Mint 10.
I'll let you say that.
Maybe not top 5, but, maybe
baseball.
Yes.
All right, another great rookie here, switching over to basketball. Fleer picked the perfect year to reintroduce their Jambalaya issue, 2003. Smart choice, great draft.
Why is that, I wonder?
Well, because of Darko. So the 2003 Fleer EX Jambalaya rookie. This is the LeBron in a PSA Gem Mint 10. Really popular issue. And, of course, with LeBron, a great parallel to have for him, and the oval design is what people like, but it also makes it very condition sensitive. This is just one of 7 in a PSA 10, so a great LeBron card, and LeBron still at it.
And he's at it at such a great level. They are right there right now, and he got the all-time scoring. And with his son possibly coming in 2 years, let's say, his market is really strong right now.
They really took off after that trade. Do you think LeBron has a chance to win GM of the year this year?
That's a great call.
He's top 5 for sure.
GM of the year. But no, the scoring title, and now this extended run in the playoffs. It's his stuff may go up again.
Play Steph. I was glad that it ended up them going head to head in the playoffs. Not at the end, but towards the end of their career. So cool to see them, and they're both playing lights out.
2 of the all-time greats, playing in the playoffs. You can't beat it. You can't.
And speaking of all-time greats, Tony, we have some amazing non-sports cards in this auction. I don't know if you've been looking at those, but yeah, this next one. A Kal-El rookie. How about that? This is the 1940 Superman card number 1.
Which makes it tough in itself. Being that first card, rubber band, all that stuff. These did not survive.
So the world was introduced to Superman in June of 1938 in Action Comics. This issue was 2 years later, so they got on that merch real quick. After that comic really exploded, he became a household name almost immediately after the comic. So then, of course, you're going to have the supplementary income for them. And this is card number 1, so I'm going to call it his rookie issue, even though the whole set is Superman. But a great image of him. We can thank Gum Inc. for that. And 80-plus years old, PSA 4, really tough issue for condition, as you might imagine, going back to the 30s.
I love the front of that card too. I mean, my goodness,
the whole set's pretty awesome. I'm more of a Marvel guy, as you know, but hard to argue. I'll admit it. Superman's the Babe Ruth, if you will. He picked it off. This one's interesting too, as well. I had never seen this one before. This is the 1936 R144 Wolverine Gum Strange True Stories, the Batman. Do you know the Batman that's on this card, Tony?
I
bet
don't.
you don't.
Whoa!
Yeah, not that Batman.
That's his minor league card, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. Although many have said that this might have influenced Bob Kane because it was 3 years later in 1939 when the Batman that we know, the Cape Crusader, was introduced to comic fans. So maybe, question mark, another decide it for yourself. It looks pretty similar, and maybe this guy is a billionaire orphan. We don't know. But yeah, very cool card and incredibly rare, low population. There's only 14 of this card in the entire PSA population. So if you like those oddball, interesting cards with a story that maybe could be tied, depending how you sell it, to one of the most famous comic characters of all time, this is a good one. And it just looks cool.
It does. I have never seen that card before. And I love it says The Batman.
Yeah,
so,
I had never either. So I had to research it and found out it was pretty interesting. And then up next, great rookie card here from the famed Albert Einstein. This is a 1952 look and see Albert Einstein in a PSA Mint 9. Great image right there. None higher. So that's is
pretty cool, actually. I like that.
The 52 look and see set is really awesome. It's very popular. It's got scientists, politicians, generals, artists, writers. So if you're into non-sports, I'm sure you're very familiar with it. But this one's tough card, one of just 6 graded mint and none higher. And one of the most famous human beings of all time right there. I'm more of a Stephen Hawking guy personally, because we got to live through his lifetime. But he was standing on the shoulders of Einstein. So cool non-sports card. And if you like non-sports stuff, there's a lot of great non-sports cards in this auction. Tony, let's talk a little Pele. What do you like about this photo?
There's some, oh God, that's amazing. Yeah, there's some really great Type 1 photos of him that are signed, no less.
From his collection as well.
Yes, from his collection, from his personal collection. And I mean, we've seen Type 1 photos go up in value quite a bit. This one here is just beautiful, and it's got the autograph dead center on it. It's a unique look. And, like I said, Type 1 photos, there's been a steady jump on the values of those. And I mean, look at this one right here, $1,400 right now. And I love the graphic showing the 1,000 points with the soccer balls and him there.
Is insane.
That's incredible.
And I
just
like
some unique items though, a lot of one pieces.
I like them setting up the shot with all the soccer balls, and they got the guy up on the tower like, no, the one's not even.
Pele, back up a little bit.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, that collection is unreal. There just isn't a lot of Pele material in the industry, especially considering, he is the most famous soccer player of all time globally.
One of the most famous athletes of all time. And people may not understand that he didn't do any signings the last probably 10 years of his life. I mean, I think I was doing a show in Chicago and he canceled And that had to be about 8 years ago, and he never did anything else public. So a lot of these rookie cards, early cards, oddball cards, some of these type 1 photos, he just never signed. Yeah, he might sign jerseys, soccer balls, that kind of thing. But some of these different things, like there's a Mike Tyson glove signed by Pele. There's I think a Joe Namath ball signed by Pele. These, outside the box thinking. Some of these legends having Pele's autograph on there, unique, one of one. And I think as the years go on, people are going to realize that he is not just a soccer as far as,
Global
popularity, but also as far as all sports. He's one of the all-time greats in all of sports. So unique collection.
And his card issues are really rare, really tough condition-wise. So we've got some great ones here that, like we said, are in his collection. They've got the Pele collection designation on the PSA tag. PSA was there at the signing, which was at the end of last year, just before his passing in December. And I love this one, the 58-59 Tupinamba Igual Pele number 109.
You nailed that one.
PSA 4, I've been working on it. PSA 4, like we said, really condition sensitive, but a 9 auto from Pele there. And we've got a video of him signing all of these as well, which is a really cool aspect to it. 9 out of 10 autograph. This is one of his premier rookie cards, and it's a Brazilian-made card, which is very cool as well. Of course, a legend there. And this is one that I had never seen, this next one, before, but I love it. It's a 1962 Iguodare Pele. It's a PSA 5, but with a 10 auto. And I just love this image of him doing tricks right there. He's signed in the right spot. You've got a 10 autograph from him. Great item. Yeah, Pele, I think, soccer cards have made huge strides in the last 4 or 5 years, and he's the biggest name. Did you play soccer when you were a kid, Tony? No?
I mean, we did it in gym class, but I wasn't.
And the reason you did is because of Pele signing with the Cubs.
Absolutely. That's why.
Soccer was dead in the U.S. Nobody cared. And then the biggest name in the world came and played in our biggest city. And it was at the end of his career, but he was still the best player in the league, hands down. And that just changed. That's why every kid plays soccer in the U.S. now. That was his influence in the U.S. And like you mentioned, there's some really unique items in his collection. This was stuff probably people gave him as gifts or he asked for, and then now they're being offered. And I love this one. It's the 1977 Muhammad Ali, the Champion, first edition. Great book about Muhammad Ali. But this one is signed by Ali and Pele.
Oh, wow.
I challenge you to name 2 bigger global icons, Tony.
And you get the full name, Pele, too.
Yeah, he put
which is really, really rare. Which is really cool and fairly rare. That's nice.
But yeah, and they were 2 huge global icons that had a huge influence outside the ring and off the court as well. 2 of the first Black global superstars, and that is just an awesome item.
That is.
Some lucky collector is going to win that tomorrow night. The Pele collection. There's about 120 items, but some really rare cards, some very interesting memorabilia. There's a great the Maradona Opus books, those giant books, and it's signed by Maradona. Maradona only signed 1,010 of them. And Pele signed this one as well. This was Pele's that someone had gifted to him, 2 famous number 10s, and they signed on the cover page on the 10. It's just an amazing collection. I'm excited to see what happens with it tomorrow night.
Yeah. I mean, and so many of those are the only known, there's some of them are, but you mentioned the Opus books. Those books, when you see them in person, are so remarkable, are so cool, because we had a baseball one that we had in the office, and they're oversized, and those photos just jump out. They really, truly do.
Yeah, incredible. All right, let's talk a few more gamers. I can't believe we waited this long to talk about the LeBron game-worn sneakers, Tony.
Yeah, I mean, if you're talking LeBron, early NBA, these are going to be from his second game, wasn't it?
Second game
photo. From the second NBA game. You're not going to find anything earlier than these, and it's a great style, first of all, and it's photo matched. And we always say, whenever you can say photo match, it adds so much to it. From his second game, I'm sure he still has his first game sneakers, and these are the best of the best. These are always going to be relevant. These are always going to be valuable. And as far as sneakers go, these are going to hold up too. It's not like the ones that had the air pockets that are going to crumble. I think these are going to last. A great looking shoe and photo matched. You can't beat these. The earliest known NBA gamers from his.
I agree. His first game sneakers have never come out. He's probably got them, or he gifted them to his mom, or Maverick Carter, or somebody. So those just aren't going to come out. Right now, we have the record for Kobe sneaker, or for LeBron sneakers. The 2002 sneakers that Kobe wore and then gifted to LeBron, and he wore. Those are sold for $156,000 just over 2 years ago. And then right after that, in February, we sold the LeBron freshman high school sneakers for $102,000. So I'm interested to see where these fit in. Like you said, earliest pro sneakers, and a lot of times with gamer collectors, they like the pro stuff over the high school.
The high school, college. Yeah, you're right. I mean, these are I could see them going for 200,000. It wouldn't shock me in the least. I mean, these are that good, especially so early. I mean, what are the odds of getting him that early in his career? And again, I mean, he's having a heck of a run right now. And now with having the scoring title, nobody thought anyone would ever touch that record. Yeah, and he did, and he's still going. I mean,
piling on top of it.
Yeah. So I mean, he might put it way out of reach.
All right, another Hall of Fame gamer here. I'm glad you chose the Shaq jersey. It's been on display in our department for the past week or so, and it is massive.
It is, and it's photo matched. And there's a lot of Shaqs out there, but there's very few, maybe 2 or 3% of all the ones that have sold are photo matched, and this one's photo matched. There's some threads right on the side that matched up. The photo match letter shows that. And Shaq, started with Orlando, was great. Of course, made his name with the Lakers, but he also won a title with the Miami Heat. And again, he wore a lot of jerseys, but there's not very many that have been photo matched, and this is one of the nicest ones. It's kind of got that dazzle cloth look to it too, so it's not that mesh. It's kind of a shinier exterior, and signed, photo matched. 20,000-30,000 on this one I could see all day long, because again, it's so hard to find a photo match Shaq, and this is a really nice one.
Oh, there's Glenn Christensen. Tony Giese is my hero.
Oh my God, I want some baked beans, Glenn.
I think Glenn's your hero. You've told me before.
I love one of the great guys in our hobby, in our industry. He's a really good guy, and he's got a great collection. He displays it so well too. I always say this: it's not about just having it; it's how you have it out there for others to enjoy. And he does a great job of it.
Would you say the best Packers collection in Texas?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. I think one of the greatest Packers,
one of the
best collections of all time. But in Texas, 100%.
And if you're going to talk Shaq jerseys, then you got to talk Barkley jerseys as well. Both two guys that are staying relevant by being on TV and still in front of fans.
Yeah, and this one's has a letter from the team. And, Barkley, love him or hate him, I mean, people love that he's so candid. He does not hold back. It cost him his friendship with Michael Jordan, but he is brutally honest. And people just love him on TNT, him and Shaq going at it. But, I mean, this guy, for as undersized as he was a beast, absolute beast, and one of the all-time greats. He would go up against anybody, and just great all-around player. And, one of the guys that, the next generation does care about him because he's on TV. He's front and center. People love Charles Barkley.
That's a great look too. That's Sixers.
It is. It's a great, I agree 100%.
All right, one more, and then we'll take a break. This Skip Thomas Raiders jersey.
Yeah, the Raiders have a very, very big following, and this is one of the cult heroes, Skip Thomas. Not a guy who talked very much. I think he might have done one interview, and I'm pretty sure it was with Steve Sable in a cemetery, if I'm not mistaken, for NFL Films. One of the guys in their secondary who was with Jack Tatum, George Atkinson, was one of those guys. A lot of Raider collectors out there, and Skip Thomas, kind of a guy, is one of those oddball figures that fit in with those Raiders teams. And I think this one will get some spirited bidding tomorrow.
Indeed. All right, extended bidding just began. Tony, where was the sounder?
Ding, 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 ding.
All right, that'll work. What's on the big board before we take one last break, and then we'll come back, talk about a few autographs and what's going on in extended bidding. Anything catching your eye?
52 Tops SGC2, 29,000, which is amazing to me. Red Shandy's 52 Tops PSA 9, 13,000.
Nailed that pronunciation, Tony. Nice.
You know what? That's a hard name for me to spell. For some reason, I always spell that name wrong, and autocorrect. Thank you so much for always fixing that for me. 27,000 for the 52 Tops Maze SGC 6.5. So things starting to jump up quite a bit here. 53 Campanella PSA 9, 6,000.
So extended bidding has begun for session 1. We'll come back, talk about some autographs that are in session 2 and what's going on in session 1. If you're bidding on stuff in session 2, you've got 24 hours before extended bidding ends. So you can keep bidding on that tonight. And session 3, which is cards and memorabilia, that closes on Saturday night. So we're going to take one more break and take a look at some of our coworkers and what they like in the auction.
Hi, I'm Matt Gaynor. I'm a sports card specialist dealing with mostly modern cards here. Right here in my hand, I have a 2003 Fleer EX LeBron Jambalaya insert. Of course, one of the hardest pulls in the modern card market. These Jambalayas have the awesome oval back. The fact that it's in a Gem Mint 10 makes it even harder and greater card to find. So this is one of the best cards that I've seen that we've had here, and it's offered in our current auction.
On December 31st, 1967, the Green Bay Packers defeated the Dallas Cowboys in the 1967 championship game, which is better known as the Ice Bowl. An absolutely amazing piece. This survived the negative 48-degree wind chill temperatures, and our consignor actually pulled this bunting off the Lambeau Field rails and then later got it signed and inscribed by quarterback Bart Starr.
Hi, this is Tony from Heritage Sports. We've got some unique signed rookie cards. The market's really strong on signed rookie cards. Here we've got 3 Boston Celtics. Up first, Don Nelson, who lives in Hawaii now and does not do many autograph shows. This was from his marketing agent. Went out and did a signing with him. It's a tall boy, signed rookie card, not one that you commonly see, and he is one of the winningest coaches in NBA history. Really, really cool piece. Also, we have a Bob Cousy signed rookie card. Cousy hasn't done any signings for a while now, and I've heard that he won't be doing any more. So a really cool rookie card, and signed in green ink, of course. And last but not least, we have Bill Russell's rookie card signed. This card has always been an expensive card, so people tended not to get them signed, and he just passed away I think about a year and a half ago. So a really cool, expensive rookie card signed. For the longest time, you didn't get rookie card signed, given the value, and people thought you were hurting the value, but that's done a complete 180 and it's changed. This here will have a $15,000 estimate and will be in our Platinum Night sale. So some really cool rookie cards of the Boston Celtics.
Here's an incredible card from somebody that everybody knows his name. Man on the cusp of greatness. This is the 1958 Puerla Pele. What's significant about this? It was part of Pele's personal collection, and the global icon signed it just before his passing in December. PSA 10 autograph. It's part of the Pele collection in our current auction, and it's going to find a new owner next week.
Tony, we both got back in there. How about that?
I love it. I love it. I like, you know what I like the best about your video? The background of it.
Yeah.
I was watching, I'm like, ooh, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, I wish we could buy that Cheers bar set. That would be really something.
Oh, I walked through there yesterday.
Maybe go 50-50 on it?
I would just like to have a beer there, but they said absolutely not.
All right, Tony.
Back.
Yes, we did it. How about that?
That's magic there. Tommy, good job out there.
Success. All right, so extended bidding has begun for session 1 for the cards. So let's talk about some memorabilia. And Tony, somebody held on to their Air Jordan 1s.
I didn't.
Yeah.
Yeah, just
them back then.
Yeah, they were expensive from day one. But these here are, almost dead stack, I guess you could say. They're beautiful. They've held up through the years, but these are signed by Jordan too, which is of course really, really important. Thankfully, these didn't have the air pockets. We mentioned air pockets before, so they did hold up pretty well, I would say. These here are they never really endured the elements at all. As you can tell, they're white. Very white. I don't see any scuff marks on them. And again, and they are signed by Jordan, and they also have the vintage autograph. So these weren't done recently. These were done back in '84 with that nice, gorgeous full name signature. And now with the movie coming out, the Air Jordan movie that came out that talks about the production of the Air Jordan, the whole story, I think these are primed to really go up. And the nice thing about these, they're a size 10. So it's a nice size. 2 beautiful vintage autographs on there. Really, really cool early Air Jordans.
Impressive. Mm-hmm. And we talked tickets earlier with Joe, and you've got a Jordan debut ticket here.
Yeah, what I like about this one, again, it's got a nice earlier signature from him. Beautiful ballpoint ink. And that's from his debut. His NBA debut. So his first regular season game when Jeff Rulin unceremoniously put him to the ground.
That's right. Almost ended his career.
Ended his career before it started, but a gorgeous, gorgeous vintage signature from Jordan, and he doesn't really sign much anymore. So to get something like this signed now would be almost impossible. Great piece from an early Air Jordan. The graphics are nice on it. They haven't faded or anything through time. But again, I think the whole calling card is that nice earlier signature from Jordan on it.
Very cool. Mm-hmm. And I love this ticket. It's the 79 NCAA basketball semifinals ticket stub, signed by Larry Bird and Magic Johnson. Such an important moment in basketball history. Both pro and college really had an effect on both. And what I love about this one is Larry signed in Indiana State blue and Magic signed in Spartan green. Nicely done. And also our description says that Bird says he's never watched a replay of the game, the final. He says, I know how it ended. And Johnson said, I've watched it enough for both of us. Just, this was the beginning of that relationship that was so important to basketball at the pro level. That is still the most watched NCAA final of all time. When you think about how many more people there are, how many more TVs there are, how easier it is to watch things now. That's an incredible figure and 2 of the most important players in history. and whoever gave them the markers to sign, nice job. Right.
You know what? I was just gonna say that too. That he signed it in that green ink, and then Bird when that in that light blue like that. It's perfect. It really makes them jump out. And I couldn't agree with you more. It's a gorgeous ticket. It's a game that's, they really, for all intent and purposes, saved the NBA, saved basketball because they helped elevate the college game. But what they did for the NBA at a very, very tough point for that league is something that they literally they got it to the Air Jordan era.
Oh yeah,
because I don't know if it would have survived. I mean, we all know the tape delay and all that, but these two guys, and they're both on separate, one's on the East Coast, one's on the West Coast. They really saved the game.
Yeah, awesome piece. And another great debut ticket. We talked about the Dream being underrated. So here's a good one for ticket collectors. This is Hakeem Olajuwon's 1984 signed debut full ticket. Tony, you can see debuted here at Reunion Arena in Dallas, not far from our past office. And he signed it. That was October 27th, 1984, with a 9 autograph. And this one is a pop one with none higher. So if you're a Rockets fan, that's pretty cool to have him make his debut against the in-state rival. And there is always a rivalry between Dallas and Houston. I don't know if people outside the Lone Star State know that, but they're always taking jibes at each other. So that's a cool one there that I just noticed the other day and figured we should talk about.
And the whole thing on that is, who would have thought to ever keep that ticket? Yeah. I mean, it wasn't like a finals game, and Hakeem was a big deal. I'm not going to say he wasn't. He was a big deal, but who would have thought to keep that ticket?
Yeah, the Rockets picked second in the draft, so they weren't a great team, and the Mavericks were, in their 4th year of existence, so not a great team either. It wasn't like some big matchup. But yeah, rare ticket there. And how about this Koufax ticket that you have on your list, Tony?
Yeah, I think it's his first win ticket, wasn't it?
That is correct.
Yeah, and Sandy Koufax, people, they think of him in the in the late 50s, early 60s, just dominating the sport. But when he started playing, he struggled mightily. He had bad control. He was kind of a spot starter. He wasn't a guy who, he wasn't like in their pitching rotation consistently because he just couldn't find the strike zone. So, just a random game. It was his first win, and he didn't win a lot early on. It wasn't until probably his 4th year that he really started to elevate himself. And this one's from 55, so you got the 55 Dodgers. But this one, I would assume I'd have to look it up, but it has a low population because, again, it wasn't
only 8 in the population.
Yeah, and it's not one that you're gonna probably find a lot more come out because, again, it's just a regular season game. It wasn't opening day. Sometimes people would tend to keep opening day tickets, but to have one of these, and I mean, he's one of the guys that when you talk to real baseball fans, he was a guy for that magical 4 or 5 year run was literally unhittable, and kind of like Ohtani, a guy. It's just different than everybody else, and I think it's a great ticket. People collect his autograph. People collect his game use stuff. This is a different thing, a great ticket and it's one that's not going to have a huge population ever.
Yeah. Great choice here, this Bill Russell photo. Glad you picked that one.
Yeah, we've seen a lot of Russell photos come out of the woodwork now, and this one here is kind of earlier. So, I think a lot of people now, after he passed away, I think they really understand like what the mark that he put on the game, and teams this year wore his number. Every team wore his number on their uniform this year. And yeah, I mean, for civil rights, what he did and playing in Boston and during that time period, I mean, he was, he's the ultimate winner in all of sports, to be honest with you, 11 championships. And, an earlier photo of him in that nice PSA encapsulation type 1. This is another one I think that has a lot of room because it's early Russell. It's not the end of his career, right at the beginning of his career. And I think a lot of the Celtics stuff, as these guys pass away, we'll start to appreciate in value because they won every year, it seems like.
Yeah, in his second season when he won his first MVP.
That's amazing too, as a young to be that young to win an MVP.
Yeah,
That's
unreal.
amazing.
So I saw this on display in our gallery the other day. We've seen a few of these, but none like this. This is 62 Safe at Home. This is the original movie poster from 62, and it's signed by Mantle and Maris. Tony, have you seen this movie?
I have not seen the movie, to be honest with you.
Can't recommend. It's cool to see them, but it's got some plot holes. I'll say that. Needed some script work. Yeah, obviously following the 61 season, they were capitalizing on their fame. It's an awesome image of the two of them and the star there, but the autographs perfectly placed, both 9 out of 10 blue Sharpies. Just awesome. It's only the second of these posters we've seen signed by both. You see a lot that are signed by just Mantle. Not a lot. There aren't that many of them out there, but if you see it, usually it's just signed by Mantle. So to have them signed by both is incredible. It's 36 by 50. That's an awesome piece for a Yankees fan right there. That's going to be closing tomorrow. Tony, last two for you. You're going to finish up with some Babe Ruth items. Good job.
All right. Yeah. Can't wait. What do we got?
Single sign baseball.
Yeah. I mean, this is the requisite for a baseball autograph collector to have. And, we've mentioned it before. His autograph has really gone up in value the last 2 years. I mean, I remember when cuts were 2,500. Now they're 5,000-6,000. Checks are getting up to 8,000, 6,000 to 8,000. And here's a fairly nice single sign ball. Looks like there's a little shellac, but the autograph really stands out. $10,000 right now. But if you have an autograph collection, he's the guy that everybody knows. He helped elevate this game when they needed it the most. After the Black Sox scandal, he was the guy that saved the game, and he signed a lot of autographs, but there's still not enough to go around.
Yeah. And then speaking of which, double signed Ruth check.
Yeah, that one I thought was just really neat. I mean, and the thing with that is, he almost always signed Babe Ruth or did the quote marks, but you get the GH Ruth on this one, which is not, on the checks. Yeah, he did it, but that's pretty much the only time maybe that, and maybe on some documents. And it appears to be all in his own hand as well, which is really, really neat. 1936, right after his playing days were done, September 11th. Again, they're out there, but it's a really clean signature, really clean look. And
that one's on the back. Really
yeah. And there's no stamp holes or anything like that. So just a really cool Ruth piece. And, again, 50 years from now, he's always going to be the guy. Yeah. What he did for not just baseball, but sports in general, the marketing of sports, it was him. And then Jordan came along in the 80s. But I mean, Ruth is kind of the first guy that took sports and marketing and kind of got them together. Thank you, Christy Walsh.
Yeah, exactly. And then so this one, speaking of Yankees, very cool signed Yankees piece. Tony, did you know that Pebble Beach clothiers were hobby pioneers?
We did have one of these 2 auctions ago, I think it was. I love these.
So this was essentially a redemption card. In 1935, one of the first in the hobby to offer signed cards. And what you had to do was, if you bought a tie from Pebble Beach Clothiers, you could mail the tag from it to their office, and they would send you a signed card from their 1935 Pebble Beach issue.
Wait, I did not know that. I thought, so you sent in a tab, and then they would send you a random guy?
Yeah, so there were 7 cards in the set, all Bay Area people, including some Pacific Coast League. Guess what? This was the best one to get right here.
Wow.
Because it was a 21-year-old Yankee Clipper signed this one 1 year before he joined the Yankees organization. So yeah,
that's amazing.
Joe DiMaggio redemption card here from the forward-thinking Pebble Beach clothing hobby pioneers. But yeah, very cool. Early autograph from DiMaggio. People love his PCL stuff because he was from San Francisco. He played minor league ball in San Francisco. Very cool piece there. And then last but not least, got to talk some Tiger Woods. And I loved this signed practice round badge here from the 1996 Greater Milwaukee Open, Tony, where he made his debut. This is the practice round. It's a full ticket signed by Woods. And this is where at his press conference, he said, "Hello, world."
I remember that. Yes, you're exactly right on that. I think this might actually be from the first day that he was there, if I'm not mistaken.
That's
I think
correct.
he came in. It might have been a Wednesday or Thursday. And I think this is actually the first day that might have been from the day of that press conference, which I think is so cool.
It
The
was
nice vintage autograph too, so you can date it. It basically dates itself with that vintage look to it.
So he was a late addition to the tournament. So he missed the first day of the events, the practice rounds and everything. And then this was the second day practice round and the same day that he had that press conference that now has become so famous. And looks like he signed it that day. That's an early autograph there.
Yeah, it is. It is. Yeah, I mean, his autograph has always been really beautiful. Even his in-person autographs have always been really nice. But this one here, I mean, it definitely has a little bit of aging to it, which is good in a way because it kind of does, it's not something he signed through Upper Deck or anything like that.
Right.
And it's in a felt tip ink. But yeah, and he signed it right across the center too. So really cool Tiger piece.
So thank you to everyone who joined us. Extended bidding is still going on for session 1. You've got session 2 tomorrow, which is the memorabilia. Tomorrow, 10 p.m. Central Time. Extended bidding will begin for session 2, and then same Saturday night for the final session, which is cards and memorabilia. Some great material in there. Tony, thank you for joining us.
Absolutely.
From Canada. Have a good night. You can have another meal now. Thank you to Joe Orlando for joining us. And thank you to all of our consigners and bidders. Of course, we couldn't do it without you. And thank you to the team of dozens in the back who help us put on this show. Most of them doing my hair and makeup and wardrobe, but we really appreciate you too. Good luck in the auction. And Tony, how can people reach you if they want to get in touch?
Tony G at ha.com, office number 214-409-1997. I'll be back in the office Tuesday and Wednesday of next week. And then we go to Pittsburgh for a show. So we'll be in Pittsburgh at the Monroeville show next weekend. If anybody out in that area, stop on by, come and say hi. And if you're in Montreal, north of the border, stop and say hi this weekend.
Looking forward to it. Everyone, good luck in the auction. Have a good night.
Take care, guys.